with the pressure is completely different if you are just holding your breath on the surface. The pressure makes something in your body, in your mind, and you don't want to breathe, and it's really enjoyable.
Is this more physical or is this more mental?
I think it's a mental sport. I think it's 80% in mind, freediving, because it's not so natural to enjoy when you are not breathing. I think in the world you don't have any other sport like that. Yesterday I was looking the match of the tennis player Rafael Nadal, and I was saying to myself, of course he have a lot of pressure. Probably it's the end of his career, but it's more the pressure of the people who put in himself. But my pressure is to say, can I have the time to crash the surface at the end?
Yeah, that's a lot of a different pressure, right? Like he's got the pressure of the crowd. You have the pressure of, are you going to make it back up and not die?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Breathing seems quite important for our species. Is your body just screaming at you, like, get up there, take a breath? Like, how can you be in the moment when I would only compare it to like cold? When I'm cold, all I can think about is the fact that I'm cold.
That's a good question because on the way down, I don't feel the urge to breathe. I just feel relaxed, and in the water with the pressure is completely different if you are just holding your breath on the surface. The pressure makes something in your body, in your mind, and you don't want to breathe, and it's really enjoyable. But when you are closer to the surface on the way up, um, around 30 meters, sometimes you urge to breathe, and the natural way is to speed at this moment to join the surface fast, but it's really the biggest mistake you can do because you use too much oxygen to speed at this point. If you use to breathe, you just have to relax. And it's not so natural to relax when the surface is at 3 or 4 meters to you and you say, okay, I come down, but I will see, I take my time, is to accept and to accept the pressure, accept the stress of this moment, and to live with.
The natural kind of water pressure around you as you're going down, that makes it a little bit easier on your body. Like you don't feel that big need to breathe as much.
Exactly, you have a lot of mechanisms on your body. For example, when your face touch the water, you have immersion reflex, and your heart beats low, decrease. Your heartbeat decrease. After a few meters, you have like a blood shift. The pressure is so huge, and if your lungs are squeezed, my lungs are squeezed like a lemon at this depth. But after that, my heartbeats slow down at 15 beats per minute.
15?
15, 1 5, yeah. And you don't feel the air on your lungs. You feel just a liquid here, and you don't feel your heartbeat. But down there, I feel like I have nothing here.
Your body is just slowed down to that point.
But more I go down, more the pressure increase, and less I float. And at around 400 feet, the pressure is so huge, and I don't need to swim. I just free fall down there. But when I arrive there on the bottom plate, I need to come up. And to come up is really hard because if I don't swim, I fall down. And the first 20 meters on the bottom to join the surface is like a nightmare because I have the line in front of me, and you have each meters with a mark, and the meters go really slow, but my legs go so fast.
You have to work so much harder to kind of turn back around.
This moment when you turn is really important because if you are too stressful with your chest, you can break your lungs easily and to have blood inside. And this is why you need to be really flexible when you do the loop down there, and to slow down on the way up, trying to be fast but to not be stressful.
How did you get into this?
Oh, it started at 7. I was with my dad and in Calanque of Marseille, in south of France, and he was doing some spearfishing for fun. And every weekend I was looking at him go in the water and back with some fish. And I say, okay, it's crazy. What happened down there? What is new world? And one day he told me, okay, Arnaud, come with me. Put on your wetsuit and come with me. And I jump on the water with my mask and I open my eyes in this new world. I was really afraid because I always remember I was looking back to me to not have a shark or something. But here we don't have this kind of fish. But when you are 7, you have a big
Yeah, you're 7 years old,
imagination.
right?
I was following my dad, and he was really happy to show me how to dive, how to equalize my ear, and how to just float in the water. And every weekend, I was faced to my fear, and it was to me more like feeling like Peter Pan flying in the water. And at 16, my dad was saying to me, "Okay, now you start to dive deeper than me." I learn about this sport. I understand this sport. We can have this all stressful environment, but trying to enjoy this few seconds on the present moment. And after that, I just say to myself, you have to be professional freediver. But what is it, professional freediver? It's not a proper work. And to me, it was more a secret to find my dream. At 16 years old, you don't know where you go, you don't know how work you want to do. It's really a key moment on the life.
So I know there's kind of lots of different disciplines. So the discipline that you do is primarily what?
My discipline is like bifin. In my sport, you have 4 disciplines. You have bifin, like when you're going in the water with 2 fin. You have monofin, it's like a whale, so a dolphin. You can go really deep because you have a lot of power. After you have no fin, is without fin. It's just like that. It's really hard. And after you have free immersion, you just grab the line. Me, I do bifin. I made 8 world record this last 5 years with my team, and I think more than meters, I really gain experience and I gain maturity to feel more confidence in my life, with my family, with my partner, and it's really like a school to me to go in the water.
Of those 4 different disciplines, are they all kind of looked at equally, or is one more like, no, this is the big one, right? Like I can only compare it to like track and field, where like, all right, there's lots of different events, but it's the 100 meters at the end of the day.
They are really different because if you compare to monofin and bifin, monofin, the world record is 136 meters, and bifin is 124 meters, like close to 400 feet. And I think there are really respect between these 4 disciplines because each of them are really tricky. Like in monofin, you can go deeper, but with less effort. But when you go deeper, you have more pressure. And in no fin, you don't have any fin. Yeah, just your body is really hard. Of course, you go less deeper. Me, I like by fin because it's more natural to me to dive like that.
Like, how do you essentially know when to turn back?
It's a good question. On the beginning, I was really afraid about it, and I didn't understand when was the point, when was the limit. And after that, it's like going to the Everest, to the Mount Everest. You're not going in one way. You have to adapt your body. And for freediving, it's the same. I start my season in March, and I start with 20 meters and 30, 35, 40. And each month, I increase my depth. Like I have 3 dive per week. It's not a lot, and I increase little by little. And when I close to my world record attempt or my personal best, I try to increase like one by 1 meter by 1 meters. And if my dive time are okay, like a dive is around 3:30 minutes and 4 minutes, the full dive. And if everything is okay, I can try the world record. But if the light green are not green, I try to repeat my dive or to not dive. And this is the way you adjust little by little your limit. And for example, if you crash a surface after a deep dive and you are really okay, you can go deeper. But if you crash the surface and you feel your legs burning or you feel really tired, you really urge to breathe on the recovering part, I think you need to probably repeat this dive or to go less deeper. And this is how you know if is you are close or not to your limit. But sometimes it's tricky. Huh? It's tricky because, of course, you are diving on natural elements. Sometimes the water is colder or warmer. When it's warmer, your heartbeats increase a lot, and when it's colder, you use a lot of oxygen to feel warm. And yes, it's really interesting to know when to increase or when to not increase. And the best key on my sport is how to say no, when to say no. And if, in my sport, I don't have choice. If I don't feel to dive and I dive, I can have a lot of risk.
When you did that 122 meters, looking back on it, could you have gone 123? Could you have gone 124 when you finished it? And you'd be like, oh, I had more in the tank.
This is what I'm following. I like following this vision about this kind of frustration after an attempt of the world record. I want to crash the surface and to say to myself, oh, probably I have more. I have more because this of this, like really concrete part, not just on my dream or with the color of the star. It's really concrete point, and I like this because it gives me the power to train all the winter without diving on the winter, going to the gym, going to the mountain or training mountain biking, and to say to myself, last year you feel you have something better, you can do something better, easily train for that. But my last 8 world record, I always crash the surface with this smile saying to myself, ah yeah, you have more. And nothing is better than that.
That's cool. That's a good way to look at it, right? Like, oh, I could have done that. But then how hard do you have to kind of reel it back in? Like, if you know you could do more, like if you know you did 122, like why not go 130? Like to me, like from an outsider's perspective, it's like, all right, it doesn't seem like it's that much farther. When you get down to that depth, like how much farther is 123 than 122?
From 122 to 123 is just 1 meters. It's not so huge, but mentally it's a huge aspect of the performance because you're trying to go somewhere of nobody go in the past. And you don't know if your body is adapt to this pressure, adapt to this time spending in the water. It's really like going to the space, feeling like an astronaut. And 1 meters is not so huge, but after 3 meters is huge because you do 3 meters and 3 meters on the way up. At the end of the day, it's 6 meters.
Yeah, it's doubled. You gotta forget about that. Like, oh yeah, the coming back up is kind of the important part, right? How far down can you go? Well, you can go all the way down if you want.
Ah, yeah, yeah. You can go one way, but no, you don't have the ticket of the way up.
Have you ever had an instance in which like you didn't make it back? I'm assuming there's like rescue teams there that can grab you and things like that. But have you ever had an instance where like I went all the way down and I didn't make it back up to the top?
Yeah, my biggest fear was on the beginning of my career, and it was my first world championship. And I remember I was diving and I was free falling, and when I reached the bottom, I was so happy because it was a personal best to me. And when I tried to come up, I have a lanyard clipped to the line to never lose the line. And I tried to come up, and the line was stuck on the bottom with my lanyard. And I remember going down again and I trying to swim again, but at this depth, like I say before, you can stretch a lot this part because you can break your lungs. And I say, okay, what I need to do? I'm stuck here. The platform is really far from here. And at this time, I remove the lanyard and I try to follow the line all the way up because you don't have any reference about the surface and about the bottom. If you look down, you think it's the bottom, but sometimes it can be the surface. All around you is blue or dark. And if you lose the line, you lose yourself. And I trying to come up at this time and to never forget the line in front of me. And at this point, I remember saying to myself, it's so sad. Like staying in the water like that is so sad. Like I was just accepting the situation, but trying to push and trying to join the surface. But I was like kind of accepting gonna be really bad to me. At the end, I saw the safety around me at 30 meters, freediver safety, and I was feeling okay. And I crushed the surface. I did my protocol, and everybody was happy because it was a personal best to me, but they didn't know what was happened in the bottom. And to me, it was more like a big step. I took it like a popular, not like an handicap. At the end, I spent 1 week without diving, 1 week crying all the night because when you see the death close to you like that, at this age, I was really young on the beginning of my career. I just like realized how my sport was extreme.
Did you think you were dead?
I was thinking, yeah,
Um, Slightly lighter note. How long can you hold your breath?
I can hold my breath 7 minutes in static without moving, but trust me, it's not so fun because 7 minutes you are on a pool with your wetsuit and the surface is just here, and
It's like an inch
three
away,
minutes
right? Like I would just
is
be like,
so hard. With 100 meters on my head, it's okay because I know the surface is really far and I just need to focus on the present moment. But on the pool, I start to urge to breathe to 3 minutes, and from seven you have to wait. It's a war. It's a war. I have spasm. My body used to breathe, and the surface is just here. I want to just inhale just for a few seconds, but I can't. I did it 7 years ago. I never did it again. I don't like static freediving. It's too hard.
I was gonna ask this, like, does your body have like almost a reflex where at some point it's just gonna make you, well, I guess when you pass out.
You hold your breath. You have few seconds, minutes, or you don't feel the urge to breathe. After that, you feel the urge to breathe. It's called the spasm. It's like a reflex of breathing. You can hold your breath on this point, and after that, you don't feel any urge to breathe. From few seconds, this point is really dangerous because you are far from your limit. And after that, you can do a blackout or something like that. And this is why I always say to the beginner or to the professional freediver to never dive alone, because in the water it can be in 1 meter in your pool. We have a lot of accident in a pool on the summer. People they are trying freediving alone, and it's really dangerous to do alone in water because when you do blackout, after 2 or 3 minutes, your body start to inhale naturally, to recover, to inhale, to just wake up. But if you wake up on the water, you breathe water.
That's a problem.
I think there are some freedivers, they are not afraid about their limit and they want to reach the limit. But I think to keep your mind happy, to keep the power and to try to have a long career, you have to protect your mind of this kind of extreme part.
So what's happening here?
When you dive like that without mask, it's completely dark now. I try to open my eyes, but I see nothing.
I see what you mean about like, well, you really can't tell which way is which. Like you can't, it gets hard to be like, are you going up or are you going down?
You don't know. You don't know. If you don't have line, you can disappear. And of course, it's something really afraid, but sometimes you feel really free on this kind of environment because now all the time we are on noisy street, noisy environment. We are never alone on the earth. Even if we are going to the mountain or if we are going someplace we like, there is always people around you. I like this place down there because you really feel alone and you can more connect with yourself.
You seem so calm.
Yeah, I
Like
think
it doesn't look like you're really trying too hard. Is that part of it, or you just,
you can be hard. Yeah, you can be hard, and I think it's more about commitment. Like when you go on this sport, when you go at this kind of depths, you have to be at 200% commitment. If you go, you go, and you don't need to hesitate. Of course, you can turn before the goal, but if you want to go do the goal, you have to engage yourself and your mind, your body, your life, everything, and to be calm. Because if you are not calm, you have the fear coming, and your heartbeat increase.
where in the hell are you?
It's a crazy place in dim blue hole in Bahamas. Sand falling down a hole of 200 meters. It's really a natural hole. It's called the Dims Blue Hole in Bahamas in Long Island. And this is the best place for freediving because it's like a big pool. And this is the place I like to go for my world record. And it's warm water without current, nice food. This is all we need to have on freediving.
Last question. How far do you think you can go? Like, what do you think? Like, okay, this is my goal. I want to get to this place.
I never have a goal. I think when I learned freediving, I saw a lot of freediver reaching their goal, like it was 100 meters or something more or something less. And when they were reaching their goal, they just lose their power, they lose their passion because it was the end of the road. Me, I always continue on my way. My goal is really like enjoying myself with freediving. The day I don't enjoy freediving, I quit this sport. It's always like learning about myself, learning who I am in this extreme situation. And of course, the number is important for the world record. It's cool for the media. It's cool for the sport too to increase the level, but it's not the finality of my goal. And I don't know. I really don't know where I can go in the next few years, but we will see. And of course, I think the depth is not the limit. The time you spend on the water, I think this is the limit because we can spend 10 minutes at 100 meters. We will see. We will see where we can go in the next few years, but I hope we can go on the safety part, on the safe way.
That's all the questions I got. Is there anything else that we kind of missed, or what's coming up next for you? How can people get a hold of you, learn more?
Hmm. I think my next goal is to try to increase my level in training in the winter. I'm training with Olympic swimmers. They are really crazy in training. They train every time, everywhere. And I try to go deeper and deeper because I like that. And of course, to trying to communicate better, to open my profile in US. And I'm really grateful about the opportunity you give me today to talk about my sport on your community. It's really cool, and I try to learn about everything, and of course sharing my passion first.